Hey everybody, welcome to Surface Level, curious conversations about the Black and queer experience. I'm one of your hosts, Tony, and today, Jordan, Damon, and I are answering questions directly from you, our Surface Level insiders. This person asked, how would you guys feel if you went to a gay club with your boyfriend, and before you leave, he's dancing on one of his friends who's a go-go dancer with his hands around their neck?
It would make me uncomfortable.
It's a go-go dancer hot.
What do y'all think about DL men who try to get money from gay men for sex/oral play, but do it with women for free?
If this person, their words, good looking, masculine with a big dick, I'm just like, it sounds like they shouldn't be fucking for free.
Do you think there are complications with gay men dating bisexual men?
No, I think the complications in your own mind.
This person asked, what's the importance of coming out?
Like, I think that the goal for me is I'm trying to normalize my gayness to the point that nothing feels like coming out.
This is Beyond the Surface Level 9. Yes.
Ninth time.
Ninth time. A cat has
Like
9
a
lives.
cat in its lives.
Exactly.
And we are cats. We're kittens. We're fierce.
I heard your cat got 9 lives.
My cat got
got
maybe more
9
than that.
Your cat is snatching a lot of lives,
Yeah,
huh?
cat is definitely snatching a lot of lives. And speaking of cats, this
Yeah.
season
Mhm.
entitled Throb was all about sex and sexuality.
Mhm.
Yep.
I mean, we covered the gamut.
Yeah.
We really went there. And starting with our promotion for the season, you know, it was an homage
Come
to
for me.
Janet, the Janet Jackson, and we were dripping wet.
Absolutely.
That was exhausting.
30 years of throb.
30 years of Throb,
And
the anniversary of the song.
exactly.
If you don't know the song, definitely go take a listen.
Do better.
And so we had a lot of fun. We created a lot of chatter. The surface level insiders and outsiders
Folks on the
all
curb.
sounded off.
Hollering from outside the club. They
I
can't
mean,
even get in.
Such a fun season. I really am proud.
Mhm.
And so after delivering season 9 to the people, I'm curious about what we are still curious about. Is there anything from the season that still leaves a little to your imagination that you want to explore more? Or anything that came up that you're still curious about?
Ooh.
I can start. So
Okay.
for me, one of the things I am curious about is how many people we impacted and touched with the topics that we discussed.
Mhm.
I mean, from sexual health and hygiene to our hookup horror stories to talking about chemsex to HIV decriminalization and criminalization. We really covered such a wide array of things that different people from different walks of life could identify with. A lot of new information for us, as well as people who were hearing these things for the first time. And so I'm curious about how many people out there we actually made an impact on. I know we get a lot of comments, which we'll be going through in this episode. And there are a lot of people who don't comment. So the impact of our reach is something that I'm curious about because we'll never know. You don't know who's watching. So that's something that I am curious about, that if I could know, I would love to actually have like an idea of the impact we're making.
Mhm.
I am curious about how all the algorithms work on these various platforms. Because the disparity between how certain episodes like were through the roof and others were not. And I think and I'm joking, I'm saying it jokingly, but what actually did concern me is that I felt like some of the more potent and informative topics that are really important to like Black queer communities were the ones that, like, I don't know if the algorithm felt they were too sensational or sexy or wild or dangerous, that they didn't push them or receive prime placement. But I will say that just scroll through on like YouTube, look at the
Mhm.
things that have low reviews, share them with people, because I think there's some really, really great things that still people have yet to see.
Absolutely.
And that's the thing that I've thought about a lot throughout the season. There are certain things where I'm just like, I really want, not because I care for the vanity of not because I care about the vanity of numbers or any of that, but just like there are certain things I'm like, I really want more people to have this information.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm curious about asexuality and abstinence.
That came
Um,
up as a comment somewhere.
yeah, like,
Someone
and
asked if we
that's
could do an
actually,
episode about that.
Hmm.
yeah, that's actually what I saw that piqued my interest because I was just
Yeah.
like that is a topic that falls within
Hmm.
this. But the beautiful thing is that surface level just is the gift that keeps giving. And so we have opportunities to discuss other things in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Absolutely. And so we're going to get into questions from our listeners. And to give you an idea of what the questions cover, we have everything from dating and sex to the down low, the DL, gay baiting, parenthood desires, queer at work, queer in Africa, and coming out or inviting in. But before we go deeper, let's start on the surface by taking a look at some surface level sound offs. So these are comments and reactions from season 9. Some of these you may have heard already, some of these we may have already even discussed. But let's give like a quick reaction to some of these comments and reactions that we got.
Okay.
So from episode 1, Hookup Horror Stories, we discussed how hookup culture impacts queer male intimacy. And so a listener shared their rules of engagement. They said, 1, bottoms don't come to my space expecting to clean out. Take care of your shit beforehand, literally. 2, tweakers don't come to my house, period.
Tweakers?
On drugs.
Oh, okay.
And 3, stop misusing the term roommate. Do y'all agree with these rules? What do you think about these rules?
So with the preparing thing, sometimes it depends.
Mhm.
Like if I don't know you, and this is sort of like we're getting to know each other in this first interaction, do it at home. You know what I mean? I didn't know that we was opening up the showers and giving towels and stuff like that. The tweaker thing, I never heard that term described for people that use drugs. I think that if you're like, on weed, that's fine. But if you're doing anything that's going to like drastically change your like disposition,
Yeah.
that might make me a little bit nervous. So maybe. And then the last one was
Stop misusing the term roommate.
as in
I don't know what that means.
I don't know what that means either. Right. And maybe
like if you say, "Oh, I have a roommate, let's keep it quiet," but then maybe like the roommate is like your lover.
right. Like that's left to interpretation.
Oh, well,
But it's
I tell that person that they need to be hooking up with different people.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't have anything to add.
Yeah, no, these rules, I'm not mad at these rules to be honest. Across the board. Episode 2, healing in my whole phase. And surface level, we were in our whole phase this season for
Mhm.
sure. We discuss if casual sex can be used as a tool for exploration and empowerment with Tariq Ali.
Yeah.
So this comment says, there is so much more to life than sex. I haven't heard that mentioned once. This is why sex shouldn't have this much weight or power over any individual. Sex is not the only thing on earth, and it definitely is the least healthy way to heal oneself. Do y'all agree?
I
I want to box with this person so bad.
I would love for this person to explore the other 90 episodes of Surface Level that existed that explore a variety of topics before this season.
Yeah.
Additionally, who made you the person who decides what is and is not a healthy way to heal?
Yeah. Like I feel like this person, people are one track minded, and so when they consume a piece of content, they kind of equate that to that's all we discuss, and like they don't give us the grace that we've had.
I don't need grace.
A
If I
range
want to
of
talk about sex
conversation.
today, that's what I'm gonna talk about because I'm fucking grown. If you want to talk about other things, you should start a show and do it.
Yeah, it's just, we hear that opinion all the time, like, oh, everything's about sex, everything's about sex. I'm like, no, everything you consume is about sex.
Check that.
There's unlimited content on the internet,
Mhm.
but you decided to consume this video and comment on it.
Right.
When you could have been looking at, the business strategy behind Panera Bread. That's the video that I watched last night. So like you're in this too. You in it too.
Yeah, absolutely. And I hate when people kind of boil like sex is a big part of the community. Sex is just a big part of being a human being. So we're gonna discuss it. Episode 3, sex ed. We discussed medical fact versus fiction. around queer male sex with Dr. Leo Moore. And this person said, this episode was bad. Specifically, the doctor raised a point at the beginning when mentioning poppers. He said it was concerning. However, no one circled back to find out what the concern was. I'd give this episode a 5 out of 10. I mean, they dragged us, but they were obviously really concerned with poppers and didn't want to do the due diligence to actually look it up for themselves. I will say that in real time, we don't always respond and ask follow-up questions. I think that's a challenge that in general we try to stay on top of and we want to continue getting better at. But this person here giving the episode a 5 out of 10 for that specific point.
Yeah. It's also funny too. Like, I think that people don't always take into consideration like the business and the production side of things.
Yeah.
What wasn't communicated was that Dr. Leo Moore had a hard stop. We had a very tight set of questions and conversations that we wanted to discuss, and poppers didn't make the list. And noted, but everything, we only have a set amount of time, so everything it's impossible for everything to be discussed. So I hear you, but also, open up that other tab. You got YouTube open up another one and research poppers.
Yeah. Episode 4, Chasing the High. We discussed how to reduce harm with drug use and queer sex intersect with Andrea Rodriguez. This person says, one thing about Surface Level is y'all will always educate. This conversation was so necessary because the topics in the episode aren't normally casual icebreakers, but they are extremely important. I did learn something new. I also have family members and old friends who have dealt with addiction, and it just puts things into a different perspective. Thank you for schooling the girls. That was nice.
That is also one of the episodes that, when you asked me about me being curious, like it didn't get as like, because like we couldn't promote it or anything. And like, I think that it was one of the more valuable conversations that I think we had in the season. So I would encourage anybody who hasn't specifically seen Chasing the High to really check that one out.
Totally agree. Episode 5, Are You Clean? We discuss how we should be discussing. We discuss how we should be discussing STIs and disclosure and things of that nature. This comment is, what about all the other STIs? PrEP doesn't protect against those, does it?
I would encourage that person to listen to the Sex Ed episode in which we discuss doxypep, and we also discuss post-exposure, the other options as well. So like, you have many options.
Yeah.
Condoms is one of them. Congratulations.
Yeah, the topics were covered.
Topics were definitely covered.
Yeah.
Episode 6, Sexual Media, Part 1. We discussed our hookup apps in their flop era. This person says, one of my pet peeves is how loose people are with the word friend. The word acquaintance exists, If you can't call the person up to help you move apartments, they are not your friend. How do we feel about that?
Y'all are not, in fact, my friend.
Don't call me to move.
I am not yours.
Don't call me to move. Yeah, I do think people use the term friend very loosely, and people aren't really examining what friendship is and what that really looks like. And so acquaintance does exist. I actually agree with this term.
Just call them by their name.
With this point of view.
I always want to give people a title.
Call them by their name.
Just call them, who is this? Tony.
Episode 7. Sexual media part 2. That's a little inside thing for us that you girls.
Fucking ridiculous.
I ain't even gonna go into detail.
I lost sleep.
Episode 7.
Get a life. Go outside and touch grass.
Sexual media part 2. Let's actually just quickly bring the listeners in for this journey real quick, because we did a 2-part episode, which some of us on the panel think that a 2-part episode is the same episode. So it's episode 6 part 1, episode 6 part 2. Now, one of us thinks that it's 2 different episodes completely. So it's episode 6 and episode 7, even though it's 2 parts.
Yeah, I mean, they both have their own separate intro. They're both separate outro, separate game, separate video files. You click on them, you listen to one, and then you click on the next one, you click on the other one. They're 2 episodes. They're not what one episode has never been broken up into 2 different files. I never heard of that. It's like calling something one song, even though like when you look at Confessions Part 1 and Part 2 on the Confessions album, that's 2 different tracks. It's not one track.
So, part
Do
1
y'all see what we
of
did with
sexual media.
this girl is fucking insane.
Listen, I just try to bring logic to the situation.
This person says, one of my pet peeves is how. Oh no, I already got there. Part 2 of sexual media. This person's
Episode 7.
episode 7, part 2 of sexual media. We discuss, are you sexual on social media? So this one says that every comment or response in both parts of this is very interesting. Of this very interesting discussion came from a person with pretty privilege. Men without the privilege don't have the same experiences. It would be interesting to see a panel discussion involving men without the privilege. But how do you invite someone to have that discussion without insulting them?
That,
I think that's
that
valid.
it is valid, and it's something that I feel like we've had a conversation with in strategy meetings. When we did have a conversation about the pretty privileged episode that we did a few seasons ago,
Yeah.
and I think there's a way in. There are creators who talk about their experience and maybe not feeling or not like benefiting from pretty privilege, and they have a very well thought out perspective and point of view, and sort of like a sociology sort of perspective on the topic. So I think it's not impossible. It just so happened that for this specific episode, we wanted to more so draw a comparison between generations,
Mhm.
and that was sort of the angle that we wanted to take it. But I mean, point taken.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think I agree that it can be insulting to say to someone, we want to have this discussion about pretty privilege with someone that doesn't have the privilege. Like, how do you do that without insulting someone? So that's something that we'll continue to try and work through and figure out as we want to have those more expanded conversations with people who have different experiences. And so, episode 8, HIV is not a crime. We discuss HIV criminalization laws. This person says, why aren't people charged when they expose someone to an STI?
What?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I think what this person is saying is
Please.
why is it unfair?
Right. I think they're trying to
Oh.
juxtapose
Yeah.
like someone can get charged for, under the law with
Correct.
exposing someone,
Yeah.
potentially exposing someone
okay.
to HIV. And this
So,
person's
okay.
saying like, well,
You was about to go.
I was about to
You was about to
blow
go
a
off.
gasket.
this one
Well,
is like, well,
I like that they're on.
Well, then the actual historic answer is
Mhm.
because these laws were developed in a time where people didn't understand HIV.
Mhm.
People understood other STIs at the time in which these laws were put in place, so therefore they weren't considered.
right.
That's the answer.
Mhm.
I thought it was I thought I was answering something different for a second.
You
I was
gave
about
up the ghost.
I was about to tie my hair up. I
You
said,
gave
oh,
up
we
the
got-
ghost.
Yeah, it was fear mongering.
Okay. Yeah.
Episode 9, bedroom playlist. We discussed if we're ready for queer men to sing about sex. So this person says, have you invested more time into curating your bedroom playlist? I don't curate playlists anymore. I just put on a playlist that someone has curated
Mm.
and just let that go. But I do miss the days where I would more actively put together like songs that I liked, and specifically a bedroom playlist can be fun to put together.
Yeah, I think that in a bind, like if somebody's like buzzing the door and you're
Mhm.
just like, oh my God, what do I play? Because sometimes I do play stuff if I don't really, know what it's gonna give, and I
Yeah.
want to add a little bit more stimulus. I'll just say play Janae Aiko.
Oh, okay.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Damon, have you invested more time in your bedroom playlist?
Not my bedroom playlist. I do have playlists that I curate though.
Okay.
But that one not specifically.
Okay. Episode 10. Sorry, we're not sexually compatible. We discuss how important sexual compatibility is to you. This person says, does compatibility mean 100% of your needs are met by a singular partner? Does that mean you don't require an open format relationship? So if someone is 100%, if you're compatible 100% with your partner, does that mean that the open format is not required or needed? You don't have to have sexual experiences outside of your partner because you've got all your needs met.
I don't think so. I think that for me, sexual compatibility means that we have similar outlooks on sex
Mhm.
and sexuality. I do think there's an aspect of like, do we enjoy sex together?
Mhm.
Um, but I don't personally, I think it's really, really rare to find a partner that will tickle every single last fancy that you have.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, if you're thinking about a long term partnership, people change over time. So, well, what is it to say that like we meet and I do all these things, and then a year later I may not be into something, or maybe in a
Absolutely.
different era in my life and want to do something else. So I think that
Right.
putting
Right.
that level of pressure on one person, even if at one point maybe they met all the things, is unfair.
Mhm.
Right,
I agree
because
with that.
the hole might get tired and you just turn into a top.
I was like, enough,
Like, don't go back there,
leave it
please.
alone. The door is closed.
I don't know when you said turn into a top, that just gave me
Then she
Where did
turned
where
black,
did it take
it made
you?
me think of turning
and
black.
then one day she turned black. Mm.
Episode 11, Pornhub. We discussed our relationship to porn.
Mhm.
Are you consuming more or less porn now at 30 plus than you were in your late teens, early 20s?
And more, because I ain't got to hide. I can do it when I fucking want to. And it's on Twitter. It's portable with me now. It's just, I
Yeah.
was at a desktop. See, that's for millennials. It was a desktop in the home, hiding from my
Okay.
mama.
Right, you had to be on that computer.
Yeah.
You had to be sitting upright.
So now I can take porn. Porn goes everywhere I go.
I have the same answer.
Love that. Love that. So now we're going to transition into our questions, and I've bucketed them into different categories. So this first section is the longest of the group
Mhm.
because this is what the season was about.
I love hearing
Sex.
what listeners
Keep it
think.
They definitely
Sometimes.
thought a lot.
Even when it's bad, I like it because
So
it lets me know.
we're going to start with some quick ones. Some of these require me to read out a full moment in order to really get it across. Is one really
Speed
long
read.
one, but we're gonna get through this. So
Yeah.
first one, I recently started following you guys in January. Don't judge me. I'm catching up on episodes. But are you guys seeing anyone? We want to know.
Oh, well, welcome to Surface Level. My name is Jordan, and I am in a relationship. Yeah.
She's at what is it? AA meeting?
She's definitely a Relationships Anonymous.
She's a Relationships Anonymous.
Yeah, I'm married, but non-monogamous.
Yes, I'm also in a relationship as well. So the three of us are definitely navigating these streets partnered up. And that leads to the next question. How do you navigate relationships having the platform you all have? And I'm going to say this can be platonic or intimate. So
Okay.
how are you navigating those relationships? Because let's start with platonic.
Mm-hmm.
New friends, people that, may have seen you on the podcast and they want to now be friends.
Mm-hmm.
Does that do you have to have a level of discernment there?
You mean acquaintances, because you don't like throwing that friend term around
acquaintances,
loosely.
right?
Yeah, well, I would say that it's made me just more open to people.
Okay.
Like I've always said that I like people, but new people scare me.
Mm-hmm.
And I think over the course of the last 4 years, there have been a lot of new people
Mhm.
in my life, and instances where in our normal friend life, will be places, and I'll just be like, Tony, you go talk to the folks and sift through who you think is nuts or not. Whereas like now, people will specifically know me, and like I'll talk, and like if anybody's ever met me out, I say hi.
Yeah.
I don't mind chatting. I've met some really cool people through doing the show and so on. So it's maybe I would think more open minded to people.
Yeah, I definitely, as it relates to relationship building with new folks that we've met through after having this platform, I welcome it. I welcome the conversations. I welcome new experiences. I welcome people who genuinely want to have conversations and are curious. And so for me, I have my own internal level of discernment when it's someone that I feel is like maybe sketchy or has ulterior motives, but for the most part, it's been a positive experience as it relates to the platonic part of this
Listen
situation.
to the spirit when the spirit moves.
Yeah. How about you, Jordan?
My experiences have been positive. I will say that It is interesting, like meeting a lot of people, especially if we go into like environments that are predominantly Black and queer.
Hmm.
I'm terrible with names, and so sometimes like that gives me a little bit of anxiety, and I feel a little bit of guilt when I'm meeting somebody for a second or maybe even third time. And then I'm not gonna lie, sometimes that makes me a little bit less enthusiastic about going out because I'm just like, I can't win for losing. But I think that, being on this platform, I think has made people more open to me. Like, I think that people are more willing to have expansive conversations with me, and I've noticed that. I
Hmm.
think before the podcast, like it's just kind of like, oh, okay, what part of New York you live in? Like,
Hmm.
but now it's just like I think I'm noticing that people want to sort of like really connect.
And what
Yeah.
and what you said about Kim sex, I'd like to
Right.
dissect.
Yeah, which I enjoy because I like talking.
Yeah.
Running that
So
mouth.
Now, as it
yeah.
relates to the more intimate part of navigating a relationship, so we all just said we're in relationships. Has that impacted the dynamic there? Because now you have this platform. There are a bunch of people who like know us. Some may say public figure. We don't walk around in that vein, but it is what it is.
Mhm.
Perception is reality. Has that impacted the relationship with a partner, your partner, our partners, with having exposure to all of these folks that want to talk to us now? Yes or no?
Not me, child.
No.
No.
Yeah.
My partner's really excited. Like when he
Hmm.
when he comes to situations where people may know us, like he's like happy. He's like, "Oh my goodness, I'm so happy that like your podcast is doing well and like
Hmm.
people are
Yeah.
coming up because people are so sweet too. Like when we're
Hmm.
going out, people will like
People are
literally not
very
even
nice.
introduce themselves, just tap us and be like, "Oh, my hand is cold. I can feel it.
Yeah, it's very cold.
I'm very cold right now." But people
Ew.
will come up to us and just
It's
like,
so
"I just
funny.
wanted to let
She's a
you
White
know."
Walker.
Now, how's my hand?
She's hot.
See,
You
hold
got
my
fire and
hand.
ice. It's like,
But
okay.
like, people will come up and like not even like introduce themselves and they would just be like, I just want you to know I love the podcast. And so
Yeah.
like my partner really enjoys that. And I think he's just really happy for the fact that like we've created something really out of thin air. And
Yeah.
now it's like something that's being like, that's valued by people.
Right. I feel the three of us have very supportive partners who are secure. So that makes a difference.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Damon, these next two questions are for you.
Boo.
So
They're for
I
me.
feel like your partner may have secretly submitted these questions.
I do not think that he was
Now let's go.
trying to stack the deck.
So, Damon, how did you meet your husband, and when did you notice you were ready to settle down?
Mm.
And then secondly, because it's might as well do these together, you've been transparent about your husband having HIV, being HIV positive. Did that affect you at one point in time?
Okay, 3 and 1.
Mm-hmm.
I met my husband in the New York City Gay Men's Course right before the pandemic started and like the world shut down. We started FaceTime like hours a day. And we realized we both gone to Howard. That was our initial connection, and a lot of life happened in a very short, expansive time, which caused us to get to know each other really well very quickly. And settle down. So it was interesting when I saw that. I was just like, settle down is a term that I dislike.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, and what I mean by that is, I find that it's rooted in like this traditional view of marriage and what relationships look like, and I never wanted that.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons that I enjoyed my partner is because he was fine with me being the version of myself I wanted to be, and not the version that is now I am settled down and married and
That's right.
2.5 kids and blah blah blah. So the ability to just continue to be me was the thing that made me want to, how we would describe it, as just like be connected to one another, explore life freely, and like do a journey together.
Mm-hmm.
And then further, as far as his HIV status, it was something that, like I've believed a long time, the things around being undetectable, you're not transmittable, me having the autonomy to protect myself and manage my sexual health as solely my own and not the responsibility of another person, regardless of their status.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that it was an opportunity for me to live the things that I thought for a very long time. And I remember when he first told me, I was like, okay. And that was kind of the end of it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I was like, let me take an internal moment. Do I feel strange? I was like, no, I feel fine. I was just like, I know the science behind these things. I know that in no way does he pose any danger to me or me to him. And cool, moving on.
Yeah, no, I think it's a really positive example of what it can look like for those out there who aren't as evolved in their thinking. And I think we need more examples of like that, and for people to like, it's not everyone's not going to be the person that wants to publicly talk about these things and create that moment for themselves. But I do think the more people are willing to opt into being open about that, it helps
Yeah.
the community.
And we love Damon's husband.
We do. We love us and Steven. So I have this guy that I've been having sex with since 2020.
Okay.
And my first time we used condoms, but since then we have been having raw sex. It's been on my mind and conscious to open up to him about my HIV status. I've been undetectable for 9 years, and I've never had any problems or issues staying undetectable. I know he enjoys the sex, but I want to just keep it real with him moving forward, and I hope that it doesn't go left. Any advice for this person?
It sounds like they want to have a certain level of open communication with this person, and so sounds like they're pretty much made up their mind if they want to have this conversation. I would, if it were me, I would start with the facts, just in case this person doesn't know what the facts are. And then once you get through the facts of what undetectable is and what that experience is like, and the fact that it doesn't pose any health implication or risk to their partner, I would then talk about how you're sharing this because you want to be more open and you want to talk more and you want to have more closeness.
Yeah.
I think that this person should probably not worry too much about the situation going left because it's not something that you can control.
Right.
The person is going to respond to this information, regardless of how it's packaged. So yeah,
no,
that's my advice.
I would also add 2 things. Based on our episode with Robert Settle this season, know what the HIV criminalization laws are wherever you live.
100%.
That's important. Understand the law restrictions around disclosure and not. And that has nothing to do with the partner's feelings. It's about your own protection. And then second, I would say I saw this note online, and one of the things that really somebody responded to it, and one of the things that bothered me in the response is that they said that you've taken this man's ability and choice about rather if he'd want to deal with someone who has HIV and is undetectable. And my concern in that response is it misrepresents what having an undetectable status means.
Yeah.
You are just living with an ongoing, maintainable health concern. If I was living with diabetes, if I was living with cancer, I think those examples were made, like, you wouldn't have to disclose that because in no way are you going to pass cancer or diabetes to a partner. It is the exact same situation with an undetectable status. I would not. Now, the law and the safety you need to have around that supersedes it. But for the personal feelings that people have, particularly being a person who is negative with a partner who is undetectable, don't carry the lies and the misinformation into your interactions with people.
Yeah. Yeah, I would absolutely be cautious about those laws, right? Because you don't know how a person may react if they're upset. And so that's the only thing that I feel like you want to be careful of and make sure that something like that retaliation can't happen.
Yeah.
This person asks, is it okay to have a low sex drive? If yes, how do you increase it? Well, I feel like we need Dr. Moore.
Right. Yeah, I'm like, don't give me the line. I don't want to lie. I don't want to lie. Let me open up Google.
Someone said to me, "Don't give me the line." I said, "I won't." I don't want you lying.
I do think it's okay though. You're really gonna have to want to fuck all the time.
It's okay to have a low sex drive.
I also think too, in experiences at least that I've had, and this is not a physical thing, like, but I think that desire and like wanting to fuck sometimes is not tied to like it's tied to other things going on in your life.
Mhm.
So like if you're going through a tough time or you feel depressed or you don't feel great about how you perceive your body or whatever, like there are a lot of reasons as to why like you may not want to engage outside of the medical things, which we are not going to get the lion on. But
Mhm.
like just from self experiences, like if life experiences, there may be times in my life where I'm going through something and like I have a partner or vice versa,
Mhm.
and the drive is low because like they just have a lot of shit on their minds.
Right.
So
Mhm.
and it's just like getting off is low on the priority list right now. And I think
Mhm.
that can happen in life. And I think that you should give yourself grace in those times as well. But
Absolutely. Yeah, I think it's okay to have a low sex drive. There are ways to increase, what is it called? Libido.
yeah.
Yeah.
So there are actual like things you can take for that. I would encourage you to look up online. I didn't do any research to like answer this question, but there are
Options.
for you.
Talk to a medical provider if you want those
Yeah,
things.
don't go on over there and get them honey
Don't-
packs.
Don't
Because
watch a
we don't know what's
TikTok
up.
video.
We don't know what's up
Oh
in
my
them honey
God.
packs.
Oh my God. So this person says, is it okay to change routines that you had in the beginning of a relationship or situationship? If so, when is it okay? They gave examples like cooking, courting, phone calls, texting, sex. A lot of those things in the beginning can be like one way, and then as you progress,
Mhm.
they're different. They say a more specific, intimate example is cleaning out every time before sex. Is it a thing where you can feel comfortable? If so, is there a time frame that justifies it? And they say, oh, that's it.
It
So
was like, what else did they say? Tell me.
What?
I was like, are they the fourth host?
no, there's a right.
There's an appendix.
But they had a lot to say about that, and that is something that you navigate in relationships. Things change from the beginning.
Me and my partner had a whole thing about the laundry. He used to do all the laundry. So there are other things I would do all of, and he just got frustrated with doing the laundry. So now I do my own laundry.
I'm not the maid.
I'm like, it was a lot. We had it was a to do about the laundry on here.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know, like with the sex pieces of it's just like, want to get on a higher fiber diet. And sometimes if y'all want to listen,
Eat your fiber.
sometimes you might want to risk it all.
Mhm.
And maybe you want to get to the end faster so that before things start going awry. But I don't think there are any like time limits or rules. It's just communication.
Yeah, I feel like what about things that aren't sexual, right? Like just when they say routines, they made other examples around like cooking and phone calls and courting and stuff
Yeah.
like that. I think that routine is okay to change, but some of these things are the foundation of being with a partner. I feel like you should always be dating. You should always
Mhm.
be finding activities to keep it interesting. Like, don't do all this heavy dating and then we're together and then now it's just like,
I'm bored.
I'm bored. I want to still have fun. I still want to be courted. I still want to go on dates and explore and live life. I don't want to now just be like, I'm married.
Yeah.
She's married now.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, the honeymoon phase is real,
It
right?
is.
Like, I mean, you in the honeymoon phase, you're probably fucking up your sleep schedule because you're staying up late, talking on the phone. You're
Mhm.
probably doing good morning and good night. You're probably having sex every time you hang out in person. I think it's normal and okay for those things to sort of balance out as you become more comfortable within the relationship. But I agree. I mean, it needs to still be special. Like, I still talk to my partner and I'm just like, let's go on a date today. And sometimes a date is a city bike.
Yeah.
And just like getting some like pasta.
Mhm.
And then as far as like the not necessarily being prepared for sex. Listen, I've been in moments where it's gotten like hot and heavy and making out turned into like, do we want to have sex? And then you probably wasn't expecting on having sex right then and there. And I think that you need to, for me personally, it's giving play it by ear. Like we tell each other, like, I don't think I'm really prepared
Yeah.
and we agree and consent to move forward, and then we know sometimes you're lucky, sometimes the body's giving sometimes the body's giving ooh, I surprised myself.
Exactly.
And then sometimes it's giving ooh, well, let's just rinse off
Giving.
and then let's come back. But I think that it's something like some people are okay with that. Some people are very, very strict around like preparedness and
Yeah.
all of
Do
that.
what makes
Who are you dealing with?
you happy.
Right. Who are you dealing
Absolutely.
with, and what are y'all okay
100%.
with?
100%. Okay, so would you ever consider being a side and not having penetration with your partner? Now, they're asking us if we would be sides, if we would consider being the person in that role.
Yes.
Hmm.
I in the past I've said that I'm not interested in establishing a relationship as a side. But I think that if I've spent a significant amount of time with a partner and for whatever reason penetrative sex is off the table, I don't think that for me means automatically we have to break up and the relationship has to end.
Hmm.
Now, with that said,
It's like that surprised me.
yeah, I mean, but the thing is, like, I need to be really invested in the relationship.
Hmm.
But I would still I don't think that I can assume the identity as a side. Like I can assume the role as a side in this specific dynamic with this one person. But I will still be a top or a bottom or a verse somewhere else in the ether outside of that dynamic with the partner.
Hmm. Yeah, this is something I don't think about. Uh, and I don't know that I necessarily would consider it, but there would have to be some type sort of circumstantial situation,
Yeah.
like Jordan is describing, in which I could see that being the case. So, I'm open-minded, but I'm not electing into that.
I keep a collection of specialists in my life.
Hmm.
People that my favorite this, my favorite that, I'm their favorite this, I'm their favorite that. And I find that to be more fun. So there is a specialist for that position.
Okay.
And I enjoy it.
Yeah. How would you guys feel if you went to a gay club with your boyfriend and before you leave, he's dancing on one of his friends who's a go-go dancer with his hands around their neck?
Is a go-go dancer hot? It sounds fun. That sounds like a hot picture to me.
Yeah.
Y'all have fun
how
or
would I
we can have
feel?
fun.
It depends on your level of jealousy. Like if you're a jealous person, that might do something to you. If you can't unsee it and now you're bothered and now
Well,
maybe you're not secure.
I was like, it sounds like we have to work on our jealousy issues. It doesn't sound like that person did anything wrong.
Yeah.
It would make me uncomfortable.
Really?
Yeah, it would make me uncomfortable. And and I'm just being real with my emotions right now. Like I had to really like step out of my body and go into like a poppy juice party
I was like, you
and
and your partner
see
don't leave each other's side at the parties.
and see my partner with like, regardless if it's a go-go dancer or not, doesn't matter. But
But
like
it's
somebody,
his friend.
this friend, like being close to him, it would make me uncomfortable. I would not make a scene.
Of course
You
not.
never make honey.
No.
Her hair would never be out of place
No,
on her head.
I would
You're
not.
gonna see me cry.
I would not. Right. I
But
would not make a scene, but I would have a conversation with my partner because we do have open conversations about things that bother us, and it's not to say like where I'm saying that like my feelings are the only feelings that matter. It's just being honest with my feelings in the moment and saying like, this is what I felt when I saw this. And I would want to know a little bit more background around the friend and what that friend means to them and stuff like that, and just try to get more context around it. But for me, it's not like an automatic like, you disrespected me. They could just really be dancing, and that's what the conversation is for, is to
Mhm.
figure out, are you just dancing or is this more? Because I would just want to have
Why-
that clarity.
why would it be more than just dancing?
It could be.
But any relationship anyone has could be anything. So I'm trying to understand. I don't. I'm not
think-
Not
computing.
computing.
I think it's the dancing with the arms around the neck.
Uh-huh.
The visual that I got in there was that people like the two are like very close together, and it feels
Mhm.
like there might be more than friendship happening.
Mhm.
And so I'm saying if I got that feeling, it would make me uncomfortable, and I would want to have more clarity as to what the
Okay.
nature of that relationship was.
Okay.
Oh. We should talk more offline, but I'm very intrigued by this. Because I also like when you all go out, y'all don't leave each other's side. And now
Mhm.
this kind of makes sense. Like I feel like y'all are always together.
Well, yeah, we also don't really go out often either.
Mhm.
So
Very
when we
often.
do
But I'm-
the one time a quarter, we're partying together.
Mhm. Yeah, that's very interesting because
She said, "You better not wrap your arms around not one of these niggas." She said,
I'm gonna tell Eddie.
She get home tight face.
I'm gonna tell no, Eddie, don't hug me too tight.
Well, you can hug my friends. I know ain't nothing
I
going
ain't
on
hugging
with
nobody.
that.
I ain't hugging nobody. I'm glad I know. I ain't dance, but because I do like dance on like some of our friends and their partners, and so like when we're out and such.
Yeah.
So like that's it for me being a person that's just like, oh, we're all partying, like we're having fun. It's a good time. Like it doesn't mean anything
Until we're
But
not.
until we're not.
But I know
She gonna snatch me up out of the
no,
back of my neck.
but I know you, and I know you. I don't know this friend.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? Like, and I
Uh-huh.
don't really know what's going on when I'm not around with the friends. So
Okay.
yeah, I would need clarity.
It's very yeah. This one is around bisexuality. Do you think there are complications of gay men dating bisexual men? Not just hooking up, but casually and seriously dating.
No, I think the complications in your own mind.
Yeah.
Same.
I agree with that.
If
You
that
would
person
have
likes
to
you,
be-
that person likes you.
You would have to be okay
Right.
with that for yourself. I don't think there's any issues with that or around that.
I think that like a lot of times when people think about bisexuality in general, there's this fear that if my partner is attracted to someone who doesn't share the same gender identity to me, then then ultimately I'm surmising that
away
I'm
from
not fulfilling them,
Right.
or that I'm not giving them everything that they are attracted to, which is true.
Which
So
would be true for gay people,
right,
straight
which is true
people,
for
pansexual
most
people.
people.
I'm just like, there are
so-
many people who don't look like you that your partner may be attracted to.
I'm like, listen,
Absolutely.
that man gonna leave you regardless.
Your partner-
Bisexual, gay, straight.
your partner-
that man is out the door.
Know somebody up in the Bronx that do that thing that they like that you don't do, and that's okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
100%.
Next question.
Eh.
So this is the longest one of our
Ooh, take a sip,
entries
child. Take a
for
sip.
this Beyond the Surface Level
Bring me a neck
9 Throb Edition. So this is a story. Hi, Surface Level Pod. I'll start off by saying I found the pod earlier this month, and I've been obsessed ever since. Every time I listen, I feel like I'm sitting with my cool older cousins. Shade.
No, you know.
I especially love your self-awareness and openness when it comes to sexuality and relationships. I also envy it, which brings me to my issue. For context, I'm a 23-year-old gay
Definitely the
college
older
student. Yeah, we are older cousins. 23-year-old gay college student who's nearing graduation or graduating. I've been dating a man, we'll call him Carson, for a little over a year now. Do we have small issues? Yes, but I have no doubt in my mind that he's the man I'll marry. That's basically where the issue starts. Knowing that I'll be with him for the rest of my life, I can't help but feel like I'm missing out on many experiences as a young gay man. I'm from a small town, and the towns I went to college in are relatively small. As you can imagine, there's not many gay experiences to be had in environments like these. I plan on moving to a larger city with an actual gay scene as soon as possible, and I'll want to experience it with a little freedom. I have considered a temporary open relationship for the future, but he would absolutely not be down for that. One time I told Carson that I might want an open relationship in the future, and to say he broke down would be an understatement. He immediately started crying and saying things like, I just want to be enough for you. So I immediately felt guilty and assured him that he was more than enough for me. I really don't know what to do or even how to feel. I'll feel guilty even bringing this up based on how it ended last time. Worst case scenario, Carson says no and forever feels insecure regarding our relationship. But I don't want to look back on my life with regret because I couldn't express my wants either. I never thought I'd be in this position of asking anyone for relationship advice, but I'm very unsure.
Oh,
I mean, that
really just touched my heart. And thank you. I love when the young gays correct myself. I love when the younger gays reach out and they're, really looking for advice. What I'm hearing from this story is that you kind of already made up your mind. You know that you want to move to a larger city and you want to find community and you want to explore yourself. I think, look, I mean, oftentimes I feel like we set aside what we truly feel because somebody has a certain type of emotional response to news. And I can see how someone crying can make you feel like you want to
Hmm.
protect them and protect their emotions, especially if you love this person. But what you're watching is this person advocate for themselves. They're advocating for what they want and what they want for the relationship and for the future of you all. And what you're doing is stifling what you want, and
Yeah.
you're not advocating for yourself. And it's I think that it's going to probably come to a head where you have to make a decision where you choose between, are you going to pursue what you want to get out of this life, or are you going to pursue what you all collectively want to get out of your relationship, which sounds like it's being influenced by what he wants.
Hmm.
And I think that's a decision that you have to make. But I think based off of what I hear, it sounds like you're leaning towards choosing yourself, which I was 23 before. And I would agree to choose yourself. You
Yeah,
have a
put you
lot of
first,
life to
Lucius.
live.
Yeah, you definitely deserve the space to explore. And the fact that you like like you said, Jordan, it's all the writing, the proof is in the
The writings are
pudding.
on the
The writing's
wall.
on the wall, the this or the that. I just feel like you said everything that you want to do. And it sounded logical. It's valid. And if you're moving to a big city or a city that has an actual gay scene, guess what, baby? You're gonna be ripping and running, and there are gonna be people that are coming your way and people whose way you want to come. And so don't put yourself in prison. Imprisonment is not fun. I'm telling you
Listen,
now, you don't want to be in a predicament where you just feel like you can't let yourself free. Like you don't want to be in a cage. And I know why the cage bird sings.
the gay
Don't we, Damon?
community loves a brand new
Don't we?
23-year-old that just moved to the city.
Oh my
So you're going to
goodness.
get a lot of attention.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I think I think it's important to give your personal self the space to grow. Um especially in that early part of your life, particularly as a queer person, because so often we don't spend our adolescence as who we actually are. And if you're getting to a place where you're out, your early 20s, you are a young adult, you're able to make the decisions for yourself. And I think that you will discover a lot about yourself singularly that exist both in and outside of the context of your relationship.
Mhm.
And additionally, I would say that things can pause in life. And I think the best relationships and experiences and people come back in the time in which they should.
That's right.
Mhm.
And I think that relationships, like we are fed this fantasy of forever, no matter when you meet. And I think that the power of relation is like in the moment where it is best suited for those individuals. I think that's where you find the most power, the most gratitude, the most value in it. And I think that, like the both Jordan and Tony have said, like you seem to have a clear idea of how you feel in life. And more than anything we have to say, I think it's up to you to decide that, what you want to do next.
Yeah. And there might be some heartbreak there.
I
You
mean, the first day I lived in New York was me and my boyfriend at the time breaking up because the sky fell because he cheated with me when he was at the blackout weekend in Fire Island. I look back at that day and laugh. He's one of the most important people in my life. We are still friends. We still have a valuable relationship. We were not. I was crying walking down the streets of Harlem, calling my special. Oh, I actually saw last night. Actually, crying. Oh my god, I can't believe it was like. I look at it now and I'm just like, it was something actually that taught me a lot about myself. And like I said, that relationship and that person 13, 12 years later is still a huge value add to my life.
I'm impressed with the fact that they told you they cheated.
Honey.
Child, the way he showed up to my apartment dropping off the mom
Right.
stuff,
Oh
I
my
was just
God.
like, What are you doing here? You made
Oh,
my friend sad.
right. So this next question is around a DL moment, gay baiting. This person says, I've noticed something since I moved to Dallas, and I'm sure it's a thing everywhere, but I didn't notice it until I got here. What do y'all think about DL men who try to get money from gay men for sex/oral play, but do it with women for free because they know many gay men will pay? I had one guy tell me he does it because he knows most gay men will pay to hook up with him because he's masked, he's good looking, DL, and they have a BBC fetish. I don't know. It frustrates me when I see these types of men and other queer baiting OnlyFans creators trying to take gay coins.
Well,
Baby?
I have a lot
well,
of
it's
thoughts.
if the person is closeted. I mean, I don't know if I don't know if it's technically called queer baiting if they're queer. Um,
I guess they're talking about like the OnlyFans portion of it, of the
Okay.
question.
Well, I'll address the first part, which is that this person who's not out is charging gay men for sex, but giving women the free deal. I mean, it sounds like the person is a sex worker, which is fine.
Mhm.
And if this person, I mean, their words, good looking, masculine with a big dick. I'm just like, it sounds like they shouldn't be fucking for free. Because somebody gonna pay for it. So it
Period.
sounds like they have a strong business model. So I mean, now if the person is homophobic, you know what I mean? If they're
Right.
like ranting and be like, I hate the gays, like
Yeah,
whatever,
they
but
got an
like
appointment at 5.
yeah,
Period.
but like if if they're just saying like, yeah, like if you're trying to fuck, you're gonna have to pay. I'm just like, I think that you need to either put up or shut up and find somebody else to have sex with.
Well, you know what? I need to have that business model. If you're trying to fuck, you're going to need to pay.
Okay,
In this
listen,
economy?
it's
I am for
valid. It's
purchase.
valid, and you as a patron have the opportunity to say, I was looking for something free, or okay, how much? But
Right.
like, you're not
Yeah.
about to like argue somebody's rate down because
Right.
you feel like you heard that they gave it away for free to a woman. That's their choice.
Yeah. And this person was like, people were like, looking for like, the generous people who will pay to
Yeah.
have sex. And he was like, you should be generous to me. I'm the one bottoming. I should be getting paid.
You getting paid in dick.
Which you can get paid.
You can get
Right.
paid.
You sound like you need to start asking for some money.
Right. I'm
But,
just like, are you hot with a pretty ass? And what else was on the list? Whatever all the things are, honey, you better put you a page up.
Listen,
Hungry
let this
bottom.
man
I
use
also
what he got
think,
to get what he
like,
want.
People have the choice to do what they want with their money.
That's
And
right.
I actually don't blame the queer baiting folks either. I'm just like, if gay men are stupid enough to spend their money on people using them, do it. Let them. Like, I think that there are, again, I always yell about people wanting to do research. If you wanted to look for queer content creators or openly queer content creators, openly queer sex workers to
Mhm.
support, you would.
Mhm.
But people feel like XYZ person is hot and they don't care. So like,
Or maybe you're really into the, DL aesthetic.
Mhm.
I'm like, maybe you need to unpack that and like
Right,
why
I'm
you
s-
keep going back to that archetype.
There's something there too. On the topic of parenthood,
Mm.
as a gay man, one of the best perks, in my humble opinion, is that no matter how much a guy tries to get me pregnant, it's never going to happen.
Hello? I would agree. Was that the end?
I never wanted to have
Oh, there's
kids, despite often telling me I'd be a great dad. But now, as I approach my 29th birthday, I'm starting to have genuine desire to start a family.
Mm.
This newfound desire is clashing with my long-held identity as a carefree, single-free bitch.
Mm.
Do any of you feel the same about wanting kids and a family? And if so, how do you balance this desire with the part of yourself that was born for the streets?
Get a dog.
Problem solved.
Get 2 dogs. Now you have a family.
Now you have a family.
Um
That's hilarious.
Well, I also think even if you had a child, I think that we think about parents in this like weird heteronormative patriarchal way,
yeah.
where like when someone becomes a mom, like actually our friend Aisha she made a post about this because she's with child, and she
Mhm.
was like, people were like, "Do you want mom friends?" She was
She's
like, "I
like,
just want friends that are great women, and I want relationships that are valuable."
yeah.
And I think the same way is like queer folks, if you become a dad or something, you can still be in the streets, get a fucking babysitter. Like you
Mhm.
don't have to now become Susie fucking homemaker because you've decided that you would also there's value to your life that you want kids. I don't want no kids. They can't
Mhm.
come in my house. You got a dog.
Mhm.
That's enough. But I don't think that like we think too much in this binary. Like I can either be a fun person that goes outside or I can be a parent.
Mhm.
You can be both.
You can be both. Yeah. And I don't think about parenthood honestly until people ask me like, "Do you want kids?" And I'm like, "Do I want them?" It's not something that I've decided I do, but would I be open to having kids? Yeah, but I'm not actively working towards making that happen. It's not like I'm just going to have sex with a woman tomorrow and now she's pregnant. There's no chance of that. Just like this guy saying, no matter how many times he's trying to get me pregnant, it ain't
No
going to
matter how many
happen.
times you give me your babies, and we're not gonna have the baby.
Not
Not a grandma
your
baby.
grandmama the baby.
Okay, you dropping off the kids, but
the kids going to the toilet. No, I mean, me and my partner, we talk about kids, and we both want kids. But the conversation really stalls when we get around like, well,
how much it costs?
when, and how. And part of the reason is financial planning. We can't just like, push out a child. We have to like plan for one. That's one thing. The other thing is like we're in New York City. And I just have to still work through the financial planning of it all, of like what does it mean to actually care for a child.
Child, you can care for a child on your
Um,
crab leg budget.
oh,
I know what your
Ooh.
crab leg budget looks like.
Ooh.
well, I don't really want to. That's a
With your
that's a
muck-
set
with
budget.
With your what? Mukbangs?
With a mukbangs
That's
and a steak dinner.
no, that's a fixed
A steak
budget.
lunches and a mukbangs for dinner.
I have to listen. A steak lunch. Listen, so good. A skirt steak right before my status meeting.
That is
So
crazy. I would
That's
be
so
I would
wild.
literally be in the bed.
no, you drink a coffee.
Oh my god.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, and meat. Some coffee on top of meat on top of
On top of it.
Yeah, no, but like, I think that my partner and I were both like very, very busy. And I just don't know when a child would actually like when I would be able to like give myself to a child. Like I think that we
I
can't
feel like
even,
that's the answer. Like you
part-
never know. You just do it.
Yeah, part of me
right. And you
part
just
of
adjust, right?
There's a
Yeah.
big part of me that feels if I were having sex with women, like, and if a child came, like, I kind of would embrace that situation. Like,
That would be the only way it could happen.
we
gotta
she pregnant.
Right. It's too much like control.
Yeah.
Being queer or like gay in gay relationships where you're like, I have to make it happen.
Right.
Yeah.
we're
So
just
then you
like,
sit
oh,
here and think of every reason.
well,
that-
it's not right now.
Right. And it'll never be right.
I'm gonna adopt a 14-year-old when I'm 50.
Child.
Okay.
Let's start working on them college applications.
So you can get right out the house.
That's what you think. You adopt a 14-year-old, that person is coming with a lot of
Yeah.
things that you have to work
I
through
think
with
Jordan
them.
would be ready to
Yeah,
talk.
I've always wanted to adopt older.
No comment.
I went home when my sister was a teenager.
Not for the children.
And she was raised in a loving household. And I was like, you are nuts.
Crazy.
Love you to you.
Let's talk about Queer at Work, Jordan's fave.
Work.
I love your show, and I think you should do a podcast about Black queer experience in traditionally conservative but hyper-masculine professions, such as law and finance. Who said those was traditional conservative and hyper-masculine? Because I know a lot of queens in those fields. It says maybe even medicine, just to see how those experiences may differ from people in media and entertainment, which may be more accepting. Do people in those professions have outlets for their queerness? Have they experienced backlash or forced back into the closet?
I've always thought about this, and this is something that I've noticed when I moved to New York, was that, the girls that dress up and wear the suit and go to like the finance, the bro culture and all that type of stuff, I do notice that they move a little bit differently. And I always wondered, like, what is that like? Because I also know that there's like this expectation in those environments too, where it's like they expect you to be married too,
Oh, yeah.
and they give you a certain level of like deference and respect when you're like partner. Like there's so many rules, and I do think it's because it has like a pretty traditional sense to it.
For sure.
But I also noticed like a trend that like all of not all, but a lot of people, a lot of the gay men in these industries are also ripped. Like I feel like when I
Ooh,
look at like
bodies.
physicians
Mm.
and like lawyers and stuff like that, I'm just like, how are you having this like really, really demanding job and you also are like a fitness model? And I wonder if those things are like
Correlated.
correlated and if
Yeah.
like physique
Oh,
gives more
you
masculinity,
literally
which
kind of
helps with the
described my husband.
career.
Hmm.
You got to get your ass up and work out.
Yeah. I think they
You really got to
they
be committed
prioritize
to
that,
like
but it's
the. Yeah.
also part of the culture, I think, as well. And I do have people that I know that are in finance and that are in like law and that have come out later in life and also later in the workplace
Hmm.
because of keeping up the facade of being a straight man.
Mm.
And there are a lot of women who vie for guys in those positions. And so when you're in that culture and you're around it, it kind of makes you hesitate and more reserved about actually showing who you are. And so, yeah, I think it's interesting. I don't know that I want to talk about it.
I was like, I don't have nothing to say.
Just keep it a buck. It's just like,
However,
look,
it's interesting.
we'll add it to the list.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so also queer at work. How would you navigate working at a job with someone who you slept with? It ended because your situation at the time rolled up on you and made a scene, despite the fact that all parties were aware of the situation.
I don't understand the second part of that.
Yeah, I'm confused about who's what.
But the first question, how would you navigate? I have been at a workspace with someone I hooked up with before. The funny part, bitch, I had forgot until a year later.
Sex wasn't that good.
No, I was really drunk. And I went home with them. Like we hooked up. Like we didn't have sex, but like we hooked up. We messed around or whatever. And we kind of lost contact. And it was like years later we ended up working together. I had forgotten that I met him years before. And I remember I was away on vacation somewhere and I found his name in my phone because I had his number.
Yeah.
And then I put all the pieces together
Mm-hmm.
a year later after we had been working at this place together.
Oh my goodness.
And I was just like, bitch, I totally forgot about this. We laughed about it. And that was the end of it.
I mean, listen, what I would say is focus on your job, focus on your employment. Like, if this person wants to be your friend after this scene that was made by this person, then cool. Try to establish something platonic. But if they don't, like, girl, you can't get caught up in that. Just like move on.
Yeah, I ain't child. You talking about somebody rolling up at work and making a scene?
Well, that's
I
That
don't- I
one
don't
that
do
would
scenes
never
anymore.
happen to me.
No, you're not. I won't even be there long enough.
Like, who are you dealing with? First of all, you got to go back and do a introspection
to
to figure out who you're dealing with that ever thought it was okay to show up at your place of employment and made a scene. Okay, now let's pivot. Queer in Africa. Now this is an interesting one because we do have a lot of listeners in Africa, and they love our show. And as we know about Africa, like they don't have a lot of open representation there. And so this person says, my country doesn't allow gay people to be free. They judge and do horrible things to us. To the ones still in hiding, like me right now, how do we coexist? How can we be free? Because for years, I've been looking over my shoulders wondering if someone's going to stab me with a knife or something. So the question is, how can you remove us from this dilemma? And now for this one, I don't know that this is a question we can answer in that way. I will say, just to give a little bit of background, we did do an episode called The Legend of the Underground, where we had a guest on who lives in Nigeria and shared an experience with us. And it was a documentary on HBO Max that is called The Legend of the Underground that we watched that really moved us to want to have this person on as a guest. His name was Timmy. And so we learned just how vastly different it is to live in Africa and to be queer. And you can literally be thrown in jail, you can get killed, all kinds of things. And so it's definitely a plight that is ongoing. And I remember we asked, what can we do to help? And there are many ways. One of the ways that Timmy mentioned was to just acknowledge them, to check in, to say, hey, to let them know that we know they exist and that, you know, life isn't easy. And so I'm curious to know what you guys think about this.
Yeah. Well, I would say two things. First, I would say that I think it's important that we specify specific countries on the African continent, because there are countries where you can be gay as you want to be.
Mhm.
I've been running around the gayborhood in Cape Town in South Africa.
And shout out to Rwanda.
So there definitely are spaces that are accepting and affirming of queerness. So I want to just
Mhm.
say that first.
Mhm.
Second, I would say that I thought a lot about the last part of the question that said, what can we do to help? And I was just, at first, I was like, I don't know what I can do. And I started to just like research random things. And I was reading articles about some of the laws that have been passed in recent years. And one of the CNN articles I read, I'll just read a piece from it. It says, for months, CNN has been investigating whether Arizona-based organization Family Watch International and its founder Sharon Slater have helped promote a raft of homophobic bills in Uganda, Kenya, and Ghana. Uganda, Kenya, and Ghana.
Mhm.
And what I found interesting is that I think that we live in bubbles here where homophobic organizations and corporations exist. And so often, like, we kind of just brush it off. Like, we're just like, oh, that's maybe just like an attack on queer marriages, or that's just something for the white gays.
Yeah.
But a lot of times, and what I was learning from these CNN research and articles is that these organizations aren't just promoting what they call the traditional family in the US, they're promoting these same ideologies internationally.
Yeah.
So when you are promoting, they're sitting comfortably in places like Arizona, sending information like this
Mhm.
to countries that are not affirming, and whereas here it can evolve into a lawsuit that gets fought, and maybe it does or does not is or is not successful in a court system. Those same things that they're promoting can create the laws that have existed, that have come into place in Ghana in recent years, that have gotten a lot of promotion. So I think it's important for us to know of these organizations, to boycott them, to call them out, because I do think there is value in that, and to not just center how it affects us, because information is global. The internet goes around the world. It is very easy for these well-funded organizations to not just promote an idea here and we just brush it off, but it travels. So that was something that I thought was like really interesting and more tangible to kind of us sitting in New York City. It's just like, okay, well, what are the places that we need to speak out against? What are the corporations that, even if like they're doing something in the States where like it's not that big of a deal to us, like we shouldn't support them, because they're promoting those, they're using a lot of money to promote the same things in places that are a lot less forgiving, accepting, etc.
Yeah. Thank you for looking into that.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
this is a much deeper layered conversation. And we obviously, like I told, someone asked us to do an episode around being queer and different countries in Africa. And, you know, because we are those girls, we actually did do an episode, but we should continue that work and figure out another moment, several other moments, and how and ways in which we can continue supporting.
Yeah, and I would look at OK Timberland, the person who was featured in the Legend of the Underground. They're still very active in their activism, and so I think that in times like this where you feel like, you don't feel that it's safe to come out, I find that there could be a lot of value in that digital community. They do a really, really good job of curating that digital community and also offering resources. And they're doing a lot of really, really great work still.
Mhm.
So I would look up Timmy and just see what they have to offer and see if there's anybody else who's sharing your experience that you can talk to and build community with, because feeling alone is probably the most daunting part of being in a situation like that. And I think that when you start like connecting with other people, that's when like the strength, and you know the light at the end of the tunnel begins to become a bit more bright.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's pivot to queer friendship. This person says, I first wanted to start off by saying that I love listening to the three of you in my car as I drive to deal with these people at work. I did
Them
want to
people.
ask a random question. I am currently in a place where I'm in search for deeper friendships with people in the hopes of having something similar to what the three of you have. It seems like the friendships I have currently don't have the space for it. What are some good ways you all were able to to achieve this? And similarly, we can group this one because it's also kind of in the same vein. This person says, I'm a French listener from Paris. I've been listening to you all for 2 years. My question is, what advice would you give to a Black gay man wanting to meet queer people in New York?
Okay. So question one, they see our friendship and they want to know like what we've done to attain it. I think one of the things that's worth noting is that we are all like the three of us are connected by our experience at Howard University. So we like something about a college bond feels pretty enduring, and we also share a lot of mutual friends. And
Mm-hmm.
so like I think frequency is really, really important when it comes to like establishing a friendship. So even if I'm not hanging out with Tony or Damon, I might be hanging out with somebody who's 1 degree of separation. And then I look over and they walk through the door and I'm like, I didn't know you was coming here. And so I think that like frequency is like very important.
I
And I
come in
know,
and heard you bitches were talking shit.
right. And what was y'all saying before I walked in?
my ear was itching.
But it's just like, and I understand that as an adult, frequency is hard to achieve sometimes if you don't have like a set thing where it's like you work with this person or you're on the softball team with this person or whatever. And so what I would say is like when you're actually meeting people, ask questions and really try to get to know them and figure out like if you have common interests and try to like build traditions around those common interests. So like if you're getting to know somebody and through your, getting to know each other, you realize you're both really into fitness. Maybe the next time you hang out can be like a workout class. If you're both foodies, maybe you can do dinner together.
Mhm.
If you're really both into art, maybe you could do museums. So it's really about trying to figure out how to like make habits with people so that you have the frequency so that the friendship doesn't run out of steam.
Right.
And then I think also being okay with people not necessarily being open all the time for a physical hangout because people are very busy. And so being okay with like digital connectivity. Every time you reach out to them doesn't need to necessarily be, we need to hang out and we need to do, because that could be intimidating for some people.
Yeah.
So again, if you're interested in finance or not finance, sorry, but maybe if you're interested in fitness, if you're interested
Y'all
in
can watch
art, if
the
you're interested in food.
Panera Bread documentary together.
I love watching videos about business strategy and why businesses are like booming and or why they
See?
fail.
Mhm.
So if you have it, but in that sense, if we both bond over that, like send me a video, send me an article, like let's talk about it. Damon sends me songs all the time, which I really, really appreciate. And it's not always just like we need to hang out.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's just like I thought you would like this song. Or like me and Tony, we have very, very similar career paths. And so like Tony will send me stuff that's like going on in his work life and we can talk about it. So just figure out points of connection and just try to build onto that. And then I think other things will start to blossom.
Yeah.
I also think that like be accepting of people being full human beings that are sometimes flawed, and that are sometimes, if not flawed, completely polar opposite and different from you. In deep friendships, rough times come, child. And like that, I think is a part of growth. That is a part of exposing vulnerable pieces of your personality and your life experiences to one another. And sometimes people do get things, sometimes people don't get things. And I think that in addition to, I think all of the great things Jordan just said, have a level of like understanding that like that's a whole human that has a whole experience and may not come roll up to you and answer a thing that in the same way that you would. It's a
Yeah.
thing I have the hardest time with. It's a thing that I constantly am trying to be slightly better in. I'm just like, this don't make sense. I'm just like, but I don't think about the world that way.
Mhm.
And I think that you have to give people space to think about the world the way they view it.
Yeah, and as a French listener from Paris that is wanting advice on how to meet people, queer people in New York, this is
Oh, I like
a
that.
tough place to navigate making new folks, a new set of friends. I think people have their people here. There are people in groups.
Go to the right events.
I disagree with that completely.
If you're not someone who's outgoing, if you're not someone who's walk up to anyone. It can be tough to
I completely disagree. I think
acquaintances. No, I don't think that. I think you might be thinking it from your perspective, but
I
so
hear
for some
you.
people, this is not easy to navigate. It's very intimidating. It's
I
this is
think
the
I
place where you
think
can meet people.
I think New York is one of the most transient places in the world. So like what I think is what I want to be more specific about is that I think that you have to find the things and your specific people. And I think that so easy, like when you're like, I'm a new queer person, I'm to New York, you immediately think I should go to the club. I should go to the bar. I should go
Mhm,
here.
mhm.
Whereas like you may be a book club person. You may be like my friend is playing pickleball in Brooklyn right now. That's his thing. You may be
A
a person
deviant
like
game night.
I joined the New York City Gay Men's Chorus because I was just like, I want to sing again. And I think this is interesting. I think that we have to step outside of like the places where people do go in kind of their friend group or clique or whatever. But I think more than most places, there are so many opportunities here if you are open to one, exploring what you really like, or two, exploring something different.
Yeah, you have to be open and you have to put yourself out
Yeah.
there. You have to be proactive about it, and then it can come. Uh, so rounding this out, this is going to be about coming out or inviting in. This person says, I didn't come out to my mom until I was 30. Throughout the last 5 years, I've come out to certain people. And last year, I sat with 3 people who I go to church with, and we were at dinner, and I said, I got something to tell y'all. I'm gay. And they looked at me like, the fuck you telling us for? They didn't actually say that, but their faces said it all. However, these 3 people were cool with it, and they gave nothing but love and positive feedback. So from that point on, I'm like, I ain't gotta tell nobody shit. And I don't know why I even told them. So this person wants to know, what's the importance of coming out? If you don't come out, is it life or death? Uh, why do people need to know about your sexuality, especially if you're not having sex with these people? And then also the difference between someone asking you one on one privately, like if you're gay, versus them asking you in a crowd of people if you're gay. So just all about coming out and inviting in, and the importance around that, and is it something you even have to do?
I mean, I think that this person, like, it sounds like from their experience, right, that they came out to this group of people. These group of people did not care. It did not bother them. And then this person walked away from that experience feeling like they don't have to tell anybody anything. What just happened after that, after you came out, is that you just got a boost of confidence.
Mm-hmm.
That's what just
Mm-hmm.
happened. And I think that that's the reason why a lot of people choose to come out, is because when you do have those positive experiences, it truly is like such a beautiful experience. I remember when I came out to my mom and she was just very like, I love you. I was just like, oh, like I literally felt like I was walking on clouds that day.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, yeah, like over the course of time, it became less of a like, I need to have a dun dun dun
Mhm.
conversation with you, and more of a just like, I'll bring it up in casual conversation in the same way that a straight person may casually mention their sexuality. Like, I'm going to talk about, like, if we're all talking about our partners at work, I'm going to talk about my partner, and you're going to know that it's a man.
I'm gonna talk
Like,
about my man.
exactly.
My man, my
So
man, my
like
man.
for me, like I think that the goal for me is I'm trying to normalize my gayness to the point that nothing feels like coming out, but also at the same time, it doesn't feel like I don't want to feel like I'm withholding the romantic part of my life because I feel like I don't want other people to know about it. Now, there will be times where I intentionally don't share that information with somebody, and it could be because maybe I don't feel like this is a safe space for me to do that, or maybe I just don't want to connect with this person on that level. And I can make that judgment call on a case by case basis.
Yeah.
But I think for me, I take a lot of pride in the fact that, like, this is who I am. My romantic life and my love life is just as important as a straight person talking about their love life and their romantic life in public settings. And as for this person who's asking, are you gay? You can, like we said earlier, you can tell when somebody's spirit or in their heart in the right place. And if their heart is in the right place, I'll say yes. And if it's not, I'll say yes. And why does that matter? And then we can start investigating why they feel like they need to ask me
Right.
about these things.
Yeah.
But
And I think it's about the reframing of coming out versus inviting someone in, because the point of it is you want someone to be closer to who you are, and so you want to let them know more about yourself. And no, it's not life or death. no, it's not something of super importance. I think the only importance around it is um, building a stronger bond with someone that you want to know more. You want them to know you more intimately, and yeah, people don't have to come out as straight. So I'm just giving,
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I would just close by saying, I think it's coming out, and I've said this consistently, it's just about your comfort with whom you are. And if shouting it to the rooftops makes you feel better about who you are, do it. If holding it privately and exclusively for yourself and a close circle of friends makes you feel great, do it. If walking through life and not making your sexuality a priority to any other person other than you, do it. And I think that if you find the space that makes you feel the best, like that's the answer.
Yeah. So just do it.
Just do it.
Just do it.
If it moves you to do it, if the spirit
If
moves
the
you to
spirit
do
moves, just if the spirit throbs,
it.
do it.
Come for me.
Well, on that note, we thank you all for your questions. That was very robust and dynamic. I really
Yeah.
had a good time, like reflecting on your reactions and your curiosity to this season. And so that's all the time we have this season. We hope you enjoyed it just as much as we did. And if so, let's keep the conversation going. Let us know your thoughts and questions at surfacelevelpodcast.com. And remember, stay curious.